microbial control. So last time we have discussed some of the different methods of microbial control. So that would include the physical agents and some chemical agents. Right now, for today we'll be discussing another mode of microbial control, which basically with the use of antibiotics. So say antimicrobial drug. So this is a class of chemotherapeutic agent used to treat infectious diseases. Kaya chemotherapeutic agent. So basically made of chemical that tend to kill microorganisms, usually infectious in nature. So this type of drugs must act within the host. Siyempre, it must be in contact with the microorganism that is present in the host. And ideally, they should kill the harmful microorganisms without damaging the host. This is basically the principle of what we call selective toxicity. So any chemical that will kill the microorganism but should not harm the host. So selective toxicity. Meaning to say that this particular agent would kill the microorganism as a specific mechanism in which is present only among the microorganism but not on the host. And we have here some terminologies that are applied to chemotherapy. We say chemotherapeutic drug is any chemical used in the treatment, relief, or prophylaxis of a disease. So that would be a very general term. But when we say prophylaxis or prophylactic use of drug, there is a use of a drug to prevent imminent infection of a person or animal at risk. Kaya a prophylaxis, so preventive. Okay? So usually preventive dose of a chemotherapeutic drug is smaller compared to that of therapeutic drug. That's why this has been a concern nowadays, especially in the development of antimicrobial resistance. Okay? Because of this prophylactic use. Okay? And what's worse, if this particular drug is used to increase the productivity of an animal. Diba? Minsan, ginagawa natin siya para increase ang kanilang average daily gain. Diba? Okay, so, ayun mga yan, it has been a controversy whether to use the drug at a subtherapeutic level because this may be used by the organism to develop antimicrobial. Okay, so parang under question pa rin kung gagamit pa talaga o hindi ng drug at subtherapeutic level. So antimicrobial therapies, the use of chemotherapeutic drugs to control infection, and generally antimicrobics or antimicrobial is an all-inclusive term for any antimicrobial drug regardless of origin. So take note that these antimicrobial drugs could be derived naturally from an organism, or this can be derived in the laboratory. So when they are derived in the laboratory, we have our synthetic drugs. Okay? But the term antibiotics, is a substance produced by natural metabolic processes of some microorganisms that can inhibit or destroy other microorganisms. So natural use. Okay? That's why most of our bacteriocins that we have discussed basically could be considered as an antibiotic. Diba? Okay? So when we say antibiotic, from the terms anti meaning against, and biotics, life. So therefore, the antibiotics does not necessarily mean that it is indicated for bacterial infection. Kasi ngayon nangyayari, di ba? Pabili po ang antibiotics. Ang nire-report natin dyan ay against bacteria. Di ba? Ito bibili ang antibiotics, di ba? Against bacteria. So therefore, mali yung gamit natin. Di ba? If that would be against bacteria, that should be antibacterial. Because when you say antiprotozoal, that is also an antibiotic, right? Because protozoa are also a living organism. The same is true for parasites. Okay? So therefore, our antiparasiticide or antiparasitic drugs are also antibiotics. Okay? So, kaya tayo, kung bibili ng antibiotics, kung sabihin, pabili ko ang antibiotics, dapat antibacterial drug. Kaya para very specific. Diba? So, semi-synthetic drugs are drugs which are chemically modified in the laboratory. So, usually, from natural extraction, we tend to modify. That's why semi-synthetic. But when I say synthetic drugs, eto na talaga. These are chemically synthesized in the laboratory. Kung bakit napag-aralan lang, we have studied the structure of this antibiotic, and then in the laboratory, we can synthesize them. Kaya synthetic drug na yun. Okay? So, drugs could have narrow spectrum or broad spectrum. When I say narrow spectrum drugs, so these are antimicrobials against a limited array of microbial types. For example, we only have certain drugs that are against gram-positive organisms. Or specifically, we only have a drug against, let's say, Staphylococcus aureus. So therefore, that drug has narrow spectrum. But when we have a drug that is against gram-positive, against gram-negative, against chlamydia, against mycoplasma, then that drug is a broad spectrum antimicrobial drug. Right? So generally, in chemotherapy, we have to use the drug with the narrowest spectrum of activity. Okay? Kailangan doon tayo mag-start. From a drug with the narrowest spectrum activity in order to prevent antimicrobial resistance. Kasi kung gagamit agad tayo, konting sakit ng ngipin, for example, or konting sakit ng tiyan, ay gagamit tayo ng broad spectrum antibiotics, we are not only killing the infectious agent, but even other organisms that tend to be beneficial to the host. Okay? Kaya dapat, very important, if you have a proper diagnosis, you have identified the specific organism such that you can give this specific treatment. Okay? As much as possible, a narrow spectrum of activity only. Yes? No. Yes. Kasi sabi natin antibiotics, di ba? Against living microorganism. Although, it is a question. Living ba or non-living ang ating viruses? Kasi, do we have, sabi natin, meron ba sila ng mga characteristic ng living organism? But are they non-living? Are they non-living? Diba? Ano lang ba ang ating composition ng ating viruses? It's either an RNA or a DNA molecule with a capsid, a protein capsid. So would you consider that as a living entity? But would you consider that as a non-living entity? So non-living siya. So paano siya diba dami? Using the host. So, with that with the case, ang hirap pa rin sabihin kung siya ay living or non-living. Kasi meron siya certain characteristic na pwede nasabihin, pwede siya living. Because this is made up of the chemical elements that are for living entity. Pero yung characteristics, parang mahirap sabihin. So parang antibiotics against life. Pero in real life practice, we can give antibiotics, specifically antiviral. Kaya diba sabi natin, against all mga infectious agents. Sabi natin, most of the infectious agents are living. Not most. Kasi yung ating, again, prions. Discuss natin prions dati. Again, are they living or non-living? Kaya, sabi non-living kasi hindi naman siya nakapag-exist. Pero they are present. Ibig sabihin, merong certain element within the cell na pwedeng mag-proceed or mag-develop into a prion. So kasama siya ng living entity. But, again, up to now, wala pang na-discover na drug against prions. Pero, there are drugs that are used against viruses. So, antiviral agent. Okay? So, kung technicality at technicality, mahirap na sabihin na antibiotics. Okay? Kaya sabi natin, it should be an antiviral agent. Yan ang ating sabihin, ano? Okay? Pero kung sinasabi mo antibiotics, you're referring to antibacterial at gagamitin mo sa viruses. So definitely, it is not possible. Okay? Although there are some experiments in which an antibacterial drug has been used against large viruses. And then meron sila nakakita na certain efficacy. Okay, we're talking here of our pox viruses. Okay, one of the largest viruses. Okay, sabi, pwede raw gamitin. Although in medical practice, again, we are using antibacterial agent in an infection with virus because that tends to prevent the secondary bacterial infection. So yun lang ang gamit nun. So therefore, if you have a cold, for example, or a cough that is caused by a virus, okay, generally, an antibacterial agent is given to prevent the secondary infection that may develop after the viral infection. So yun na ang ginagamit doon. Okay? Because generally, very few antimicrobial drug has been developed against viruses. Napakakunti pa lang. So, hindi sa lahat ng viruses. Okay? So, again, antibacterial drug is only indicated for secondary bacterial infection and not against the virus itself. Characteristics of an ideal antimicrobial drug. Sabi natin kanina, it's selectively toxic to the microbe but non-toxic to the host cell. Kaya selective toxicity. Microbicidal rather than microbistatic. Okay, when I say microbicidal, it kills the microbes. When I say microbistatic, it slows. Okay? So it prevents their multiplication. Okay? So, when is, for example, when we have an antibacterial drug that is cidal and static. So when do we use cidal and when do we use static? Kailan gagamitin yun? And that's why very important na ma-identify that we have the proper diagnosis and we have identified the correct infectious agent. Kasi generally, if you have an infection with a gram-negative organism, it is best to use cidal or static. Cidal? Meron pa ibang choice? Again, knowing the characteristic of our organism. Diba sabi natin, for gram-negative organism, they have endotoxins. And endotoxins are not released by the microorganism, but it is released only after the death of the microorganism. So therefore, if you kill a gram-negative organism, you tend to liberate the endotoxins. So what will happen? This will lead to endotoxemia. Kaya generally, if you have a gram-negative organism with the characteristic of liberating yung endotoxins, it is best to use the static drug rather than the cidal drug. Okay? So we have to consider that as well. Kasi minsan nakakasama yung effect ng endotoxin than the infection itself. Okay? So it's relatively soluble and functions even when highly diluted in the body fluids. So take note that all of the drug will eventually be diluted. Okay? Although we have certain complications for this. It remains potent long enough to act and is not broken down or excreted prematurely. or you have studied in pharmacology, okay, that a drug should be biotransformed, okay, in the liver. Okay, ay baka naman hindi pa na-biotransform, ina-eliminate na. Okay, so dapat hindi ganun. Okay, it's not subject to the development of antimicrobial resistance. Okay, so meron kayong drug na ganito? Okay, so nowadays, the organisms, okay, are developing, okay, resistance, okay, against, okay, the most commonly known antibiotics. Okay, although, okay, there are certain drugs that are used in combination with, okay, other substances. For example, are you familiar with co-amoxicillin? Gumagamit ako. Ito pang laman ng co-amoxicillin. Amoxicillin and clavulanic acid. Para saan yun? Take note, amoxicillin. Okay, mga beta-lactam antibiotics. Okay, and the resistance is usually attributed to development of an enzyme that will degrade the antibiotic. Diba? Kaya yung kanyang beta-lactam ring. So we term this enzyme as beta-lactamase. Okay? So, the clavulanic acid, ayun yun. So that prevents the development of this enzyme. Okay? So far, kung meron ganun, na drug combination. So it complements or assists the activities of host defenses. Okay, so remember, within the body, we also have our defenses. We have the complement system. We have our immunoglobulins or antibodies. So it should complement with that as well. It remains active in tissues. It's readily delivered to the site of infection, not excessive in cost, and does not disrupt the whole cell health by causing allergies or predisposing the host to other infection. So sa palagay ninyo, how do we have a drug with all these characteristics? Wala pang ganon. Okay, so wala pang ganon. Okay, so meron siyang 1, or 2, of these characteristics, but not all. So origins, the antibiotics, these are common metabolic products of aerobics for forming bacteria and fungi that inhibits other microorganisms. The most common source would be the bacterial genera, particularly Streptomyces and Bacillus species. So dyan commonly nakukuha yung ating mga antibiotics. Molds, such as those of the genus Penicillium and the genus Cephalosporium. Okay? Mga common. So by inhibiting other microbes in the same habitat, antibiotic producers have less competition for nutrient and species. So yun lang. Okay? So yung ginagawa ng ating ibang mga microorganisms, they tend to produce a substance that would kill related organisms to decrease the competition. Okay? So wala silang kinalaman sa magiging kita what function na nila yan. So, the discovery of antibiotics. Alam natin kung naka-discover niyan? In particular, the first antibiotic is Penicillium, which is discovered by Alexander Fleming. So, sabi niyan, this is serendipity. Nagkataon lang. Why? Because as Fleming is inoculating his bacterium, he noticed that lagi may contaminant. But, siyempre, naiinis siya about the contaminant. Dahil contaminated ang kaniyang culture. And then again, after some time, he discovered that surrounding that contaminant, as you can see here, there is no bacterial growth. So notice that there is certain inhibition on the growth surrounding this particular contaminant. Kaya, oops, there must be something about that contaminant. And he isolated this first antibiotic. Coming from this fungus known as Penicillium notatum. Okay, so this is the first antibiotic. So these are some examples of our antibiotics. Natin, common, Penicillium notatum, so it's a fungus. Okay, where our penicillin was derived. Bacillus subtilis, that's ordinary, the contaminant. We have our basic tracing. Bacillus polymyxin. Okay, Streptomyces nodosus, Apotericin B, Streptomyces venezuelae, chloramphenicol, Streptomyces aureofaciens. We have our tetracyclines, Streptomyces gracius, Streptomycin, Streptomyces erythromycin, which, di ba, sabi, it has been discovered by a Filipino. Cephalosporium acrimonium, we have cephalosporin, Penicillium grisufulvum, we have grisufulvin. Di ba, most of this, bacteria, dito, Penicillium, Cephalosporium, so these are fungi. Diba, napakadami yan, mga antibiotics. So types of antimicrobial drugs. So we have certain drugs in which functions to inhibit cell wall synthesis of the bacterium. We have those that inhibit nucleic acid synthesis, those that inhibit protein synthesis, disruption of cell membrane structure, or even inhibition of metabolic pathway. So let us discuss them one by one. Okay? So sabi natin, there are certain targets for each of our antibiotics or antibacterial drug. Okay? Those that target cell wall synthesis would be those of the beta-lactam drugs. So this would include your penicillins, vancomycin, bacitracin, cephalosporins. Yan. So all of them are drugs that act against the cell wall, particularly preventing cell wall synthesis. Okay? Those that targets cell membrane integrity. Okay? Mean to say that the cell membrane, that the cell membrane functions basically to, as a cell membrane, it regulates the movement of fluid and electrolytes into and out of the cell. Okay, so disrupting this function may result to again imbalances in the ionic equilibria of the cell itself. Those that disrupt metabolic pathways, so we discussed them, such as sulfonamides and trimethoprim, and those that affect nucleic acid and protein synthesis. Nucleic acid synthesis, basically, this will further prevent the replication of our microorganisms in the production of specific proteins. Okay, so drugs that affect the bacterial cell wall. Most bacterial cell walls contain a rigid girdle of peptidoglycan. So peptidoglycan is the major component of the cell wall of both gram-positive and gram-negative organisms. The drugs penicillin and cephalosporin blocks the synthesis of peptidoglycan. And again, without the peptidoglycan, the bacterial cell would be susceptible to osmotic lysis. Okay? So the simple breakdown of this peptidoglycan will lead to osmotic lysis. So therefore, as we have this part of the exam, the first exam, between your gram-positive and gram-negative organism, okay, and you put that in a drug, that is against the synthesis of peptidoglycan of bacterial cell wall, which sabi natin would be most susceptible, gram-positive or gram-negative. Ano na sagot? Sure na? Okay, so the gram-positive. Okay? Because for gram-negative, they do have their outer membrane as well. Okay? They have very thin peptidoglycan, so even if you lyse this peptidoglycan, okay, they still have the outer membrane protein. Okay? But gram-positive, so wala. So penicillins do not penetrate the outer membrane and are less effective, therefore, against gram-negative bacteria. And both spectrum penicillins and cephalosporins, however, can cross this gram-negative bacteria. Okay? So remember that the cell wall is necessary for the integrity, okay, and responsible for the shape of our bacterial cell. So if you remove the peptidoglycan, the cell will die simply by osmotic lysis. Discuss pa ba natin to? Okay. So basically, this is the synthesis of our peptidoglycan. You know that NAG or N-acetylglucosamine will be linked with uridine diphosphate to form your UDP NAG polymer. Then some of the NAG will be converted to your NAM, forming UDP NAM as well. So again, start siya as NAG, and eventually some will be converted into an NAM molecule. So then 5 amino acids are sequentially added to the UDP NAM, forming this pentapeptide. Take note that the last two are D-alanine molecules enzymatically produced from L-alanine. And this peptide will differ depending whether the organism is gram-positive or gram-negative. Tama? If it's gram-negative organism, then we have our L-alanine, D-glutamic acid, mesodiamino-pymalic acid, D-alanine, and D-alanine. So dalawang D-alanine, and eventually that fifth D-alanine will be removed during the formation or linking with other pentapeptide. So the NAM pentapeptide is attached to bactoprenol, which is called the carrier molecule. So therefore, this bactoprenol is located only on the cell membrane. So this is responsible for the translocation of your NAG and AM molecule from the cytoplasm into the outside, where your peptidoglycan will be synthesized. So the energy is being supplied by one of the high energy phosphate group of your UDP. Kaya ang uridine diphosphate. So the uridine plus 2 phosphate molecule. So the NAG is attached to the NAM pentapeptide on the bactoprenol to complete the peptidoglycan monomer, and then the bactoprenols will transport that NAG and M molecule into the outside, and hence will not be ready to be inserted onto your old peptidoglycan. So this is essential, particularly during the growth of our bacterial cell, particularly prior to their replication. So remember, sabi natin, prior to replication, the cell has to increase its size. And this will be possible by the addition of this newly synthesized NAM NAG molecule. So it just have to be reinserted onto the former NAG NAM molecule. Ano pala dito? Picture.
Precursor subunit of peptidoglycan, UDP-N acetylmuramic acid, is synthesized in the cytoplasm. A lactyl group is added to carbon number 3 of UDP-N acetylglucosamine to form UDP-N acetylmuramic acid. 5 amino acids are added sequentially to UDP-NAM to form a pentapeptide side chain. Special adding enzymes are used to add these amino acids so that tRNA and ribosomes are not involved. In the case of Escherichia coli, L-alanine is added first, then D-glutamic acid, then mesodiamino-pymalic acid. Finally, the dipeptide, D-alanyl D-alanine, is added to form the pentapeptide side chain. The NAM pentapeptide is transferred from UDP to bactoprenol phosphate at the membrane surface. Then NAG is transferred from UDP-NAG to the bactoprenol NAM pentapeptide to form the final disaccharide pentapeptide precursor. The completed NAM-NAG precursor is transported across the membrane to its outer surface by the bactoprenyl carrier lipid. The disaccharide pentapeptide is then transferred to the growing end of the peptidoglycan chain to lengthen it by 1 repeat unit. As the bactoprenyl phosphate returns to the inside of the cell membrane,
emphasize na natin itong role ng bactoprenyl. Tingnan nyo ba nangyari? Kasi there is another drug that will act on the microorganism using this mechanism.
1-phosphate is removed by a pyrophosphatase, leaving a bactoprenyl phosphate to accept another NAM pentapeptide. Finally, the peptide side chains are linked together by transpeptidation reactions, forming peptide bonds. In E. coli, the free amino group of diaminopomelic acid is linked to the carboxyl group of the subterminal D-alanine, releasing the terminal D-alanine. Other enzymes remove the terminal D-alanine from side chains that are not cross-linked.
Okay. Ganun lang kasimple, ano? Kaya sa mga bacteria. Okay? So again, in the synthesis of the peptidoglycan, we have two very important enzymes. We have transglycosylase, which joins the monomers together to form the chain. Meaning to say, this chains, AMG, and transpeptidase, which cross-links the side chain. Okay, so this 4 amino acids. Okay, again, transpeptidase. Okay, now, transpeptidase is also known as your penicillin binding protein. Penicillin binding protein or PBP. Okay, because basically, your penicillin will act at this point, preventing the transpeptidation of this pentapeptide. Kaya tawag din dyan again is penicillin binding protein.
The peptidoglycan and ultimately the bacterial cell wall occurs in a number of stages. One of the first stages is the addition of 5 amino acids to N-acetylmuramic acid. Next, N-acetylglucosamine is added to the N-acetylmuramic acid to form a precursor of peptidoglycan. This peptidoglycan precursor is then transported across the cell membrane to a cell wall acceptor in the periplasm. Once in the periplasm, the peptidoglycan precursors bind to cell wall acceptors and undergo extensive cross-linking. 2 major enzymes are involved in cross-linking: transpeptidase and D-alanyl carboxypeptidase. These enzymes are also known as penicillin-binding proteins because of their ability to bind to penicillins and cephalosporins. Eventually, several layers of peptidoglycan are formed, all of which are cross-linked to create the cell wall. Gram-positive bacteria may have more layers than gram-negative bacteria and thus have a much thicker cell wall.
So nakita ang function ng ating penicillin binding protein or transpeptidase. Okay, so this is just the summary. Okay, so again, the linking of your disaccharide and AM and AG is performed by the enzyme transglycosylase. Okay, and the cross-linking of the side chains, ito basically is performed by our transpeptidases. Okay? So the difference with our gram-positive and gram-negative organisms. With our gram-negative organism, our D-alanine is cross-linked with diaminopimelic acid of one of your disaccharide, while for your gram-positive organism, there is a pentapeptide interbridge that connects your D-alanine with the L-lysine of the other kay disaccharide. Lang ang important na. Now, kay cycloserine. Cycloserine is another drug. So this is an alanine analog. Okay, alanine analog. Meaning to say that it have the same morphology as that of your alanine. It then inhibits the conversion of L-alanine to D-alanine. So therefore, it inhibits the formation of D-alanine and D-alanine. So D-alanine, yun nasa terminal part ng inyong peptides. Diba? So what would happen kung na-prevent yun? Okay, so walang possible na cross-linking between this part of the cell wall. Okay? So there is no transpeptidation. So bacitracin inhibits the phosphorylation of bactoprenol. So because of the bactoprenol carrier cannot release the extra phosphate group, it is unable to pick up more sugar. Kaya sabi sa inyo, tingnan natin yung function or role ng ating bactoprenol. Kaya sabi dyan, bacitracin inhibits the phosphorylation. Okay? So therefore, hindi siya accept ng another NAG/NAM molecule to be transported to the outside. So parang lang yan, no? Okay? So bactoprenol, yan. Okay? So yun ang function nun. Okay? So, kung may bactoprenol tayo, at kung may bacitracin tayo, again, the phosphorylation of bactoprenol is not possible. At sabi ni kanina, kung hindi madidephosphorylate, this UDP cannot accept new NAG disaccharide. Clear yun? So, ganun lang kasimple ang kanyang function, but this is very effective in preventing the formation of your peptidoglycan. Vancomycin, it binds to D-alanine moiety, and again inhibits transpeptidation reactions that cause cross-linking between neighboring peptidoglycan chains. So this has the same mechanism of action as that of your cycloserine. No? Okay, so it acts on your D-alanine molecule. So again, we have certain drugs that act in preventing the cell wall synthesis with different mechanisms. Penicillin, for example, this acts saan? By inhibiting transpeptidation. Your cycloserine and vancomycin, which binds to your D-alanine, so preventing its formation, and therefore prevents transpeptidation by a different mechanism. And your bacitracin, it prevents the phosphorylation of your bactoprenol, such that it cannot bind NAG/NAM molecule to be transferred from the cytoplasm into the outside of the cell wall, or outside of the cell membrane. So beta-lactams inhibit penicillin binding proteins, and therefore again stops cross-linking by prevents transpeptidation.
Beta-lactam antibiotics include all penicillins and cephalosporins that contain a chemical structure called a beta-lactam ring. This structure is capable of binding to the enzymes that cross-link peptidoglycans. Beta-lactams interfere with cross-linking by binding to transpeptidase and D-alanyl carboxypeptidase enzymes, thus preventing bacterial cell wall synthesis.
Okay? So parang gano'n lang kasimple, no? Okay? So it prevents transpeptidation because this can bind with this penicillin binding protein or transpeptidase. So kung failed siya, therefore it cannot act on this part of the peptidoglycan. Okay? So these are just the drugs enumerating the penicillins, the beta-lactams, and the cephalosporins. So all of them acting by preventing your cell wall synthesis. Now, generally, if you have a beta-lactamase, basically an enzyme that is produced by the bacterium against the penicillin, usually they are able to clear this part of the beta-lactam. So if this beta-lactam is cleared, so therefore it will render your drug ineffective. So ganun kasimple. May beta-lactam ang ating mga antibiotics. Ayun lang ay kiklip ng ating bacterium, ineffective na yung ating antibiotics. Now, there are certain drugs that inhibit nucleic acid synthesis. So therefore, this blocks synthesis of nucleotides, very specific. So therefore, the organism cannot reproduce. Because it inhibits the replication or even stops the translation processes. Sulfonamides and trimethoprim block the enzymes required for tetrahydrofolate synthesis, which are required for your DNA and RNA synthesis. Okay? Yeah. So, for example, so we have here the normal metabolic pathways by which your purines, pyrimidines, and amino acids are produced by the organism to be utilized for DNA and RNA synthesis. Ayan, nandiyan ang purines, nandiyan ang pyrimidines. So, saan siya nanggaling? Basically, from this para-aminobenzoic acid. So, this is the precursor for your purines and your pyrimidines. Then, this is being converted into dihydrofolic acid into tetrahydrofolic acid before it will be converted into purines and your pyrimidines. Now, anong ginagawa na ating sulfonamides and our trimethoprim? Sulfonamides inhibit the conversion of your PABA into your dihydrofolic acid, while your trimethoprim inhibits the formation of your dihydrofolic acid into tetrahydrofolic acid. Okay? So, yun ang ginagawa nila. Okay? But, take note that this one is your PABA. Take note that your sulfonamides as a drug, bigyan natin, it may have the same structure as that of your PABA. So therefore, paano piniprevent the sulfonamides? So once the sulfonamide, once the sulfonamide binds with this pteridine synthase, so therefore it cannot produce your dihydrofolic acid. Kasi pareho sila structure by competition to the same binding site, so therefore this will not be possible. So the production of dihydrofolic acid will be prevented. Okay? So ganun din yung ating trimethoprim. Even if you have dihydrofolic acid, so hindi ma-form ang tetrahydrofolic acid. Okay? So sulfonamides, and the action of your trimethoprim. Now, but there are certain drug also, or drug combination, we have trimethoprim sulfate. You have heard of that, trimethoprim sulfate. Okay, so therefore, meron pa ng sulfate, meron ka pa ng trimethoprim. Okay, so dalawang pathways ang nabablock ng particular drug. Okay, so that's why it is even more effective in preventing nucleic acid synthesis among bacterium. So therefore, more effective in killing the microorganism. There are certain drugs that block protein synthesis. particularly targeting the ribosomes of bacteria. For example, we have our aminoglycosides, which bind to the 30S subunit, causing it to distort and malfunction. So 30S subunit of our ribosome. Ano pa yung 30S? S meaning Swedberg unit. Okay, so this is basically for the degree or unit for the degree of centrifugation. Okay? So the heavier the protein, so syempre, mas mataas ang kanilang Swedberg unit. And remember that your ribosome, meron siyang 50S, meron siyang 30S subunit. So for your aminoglycoside, specifically, they bind to the 30S subunit of your ribosome. Okay? So basically, with that, doon pa lang, so nadi-distort na, and that may block the initiation of translation. Your tetracycline also binds with a 30S subunit, blocking the attachment of your tRNA. Okay? So basically, more on the elongation process. Okay? Aminoglycoside, on the initiation of translation. Tetracycline, more of the elongation of your proteins. So macrolise binds to 50S subunit and prevents protein synthesis as well from continuing. Okay? So 50S and the 30S. So aminoglycosides and tetracyclines, their specific site of action would be on the 30S, while streptocramine, oxazolidone, nicosamide, chloramphenicol, and your macrolides, lahat ng yan on your 50S subunit. Okay? So, ganito lang naman, Okay, pasimplihin natin. Okay, for your aminoglycosides, okay, so dito sa 30S ang kanyang function, okay, causing the mRNA to be misread. Okay, kasi nagpa-block doon, Okay, chloramphenicol, formation of peptide bond is blocked. So, between succeeding tRNAs carrying two different amino acids. So that will be the site of action of your chloramphenicol. Okay. Oxalotidinones, so yun din naman, Okay, so basically we have our tRNAs, di ba? Meron siyang dito, anticodon. Okay, that will bind specifically to your mRNA. So that will prevent your anticodons to attach to your mRNA. Hence, that will stop the translation process. For your tetracyclines, it blocks protein synthesis, again, by binding to this site of our RNA. Basically, this is our a site of your ribosome. Okay, so therefore, this prevents further addition of your tRNAs carrying your amino acid. And erythromycin, ribosome is prevented from translocation. So kumbaga hindi na magpuproceed ang yung ribosomes in translating your mRNA into your protein. Start pa lang, stop na. This is the structure of your tetracyclines. So all tetracyclines may have the same basic structure of this four benzyl rings. And difference lang tetracycline lacks this chlorine and your hydroxyl group. So parang yan lang, tetracycline. Chlorotetracycline, kaya daw chlorotetracycline because it contains the chloride ions. And doxycycline, so doxycycline basically is broad spectrum tetracycline. So one of the newer tetracycline, so it contains a hydroxyl group, but without the chlorine. So drugs that disrupt the cell membrane function. So this results in disruption of metabolism and loss of metabolites. So remember that the cytoplasm, so this regulates the movement of electrolytes into and out of the cell. So therefore, it is important in maintaining the osmotic gradient within the cell. So if you disrupt this, okay, then water and electrolyte will move either into and out of the cell. So therefore, this may eventually cause the breakdown of the cell. Okay? So practically destroys the ionic equilibria, who destroy John, so all the processes within the cell might be affected. So these drugs have a specificity for a particular microbial group based on the differences in types of lipid in their cell membrane. For example, polymyxins interact with phospholipids. So phospholipid basically nagpo-form ng cell membrane. While amphotericin B form complexes with sterols. Okay, so the cholesterol part within this cell membrane. So remember that the cell membrane, di ba, meron siyang basic na mga phospholipids. Then it also has cholesterol. Para saan cholesterol? Para saan cholesterol sa cell membrane? Huh? Para sa rigidity or stability of the cell membrane. Right? So it prevents tight packing, for example, of the cell membrane when the temperature is low. Diba? Kasi sabi natin, when the temperature is low, so pwede mag-tightly pack together ang cell membrane. So therefore, that will make your cell membrane less likely to be fluid. Baka maligas na yan mga cell. Diba? Hindi na fluid yung cell membrane. So kailangan niya ating cholesterol. Okay? So yan ang target ng ating amphotericin B. But take note, very specific yung cholesterol, yung sterol. Okay? Because mammalian cell in general, they do have our cholesterol as well. Okay? So in this case, the sterol is an ergosterol for fungus. So therefore, if we have this amphotericin B, this may target the sterol of fungus but not the cholesterol of the host cell. Kaya yung tatawag natin selective toxicity. Okay? So polymyxin B, it allows, it can enter the cell wall and eventually disrupting this cell membrane. So again, this will allow the movement of water and electrolytes into and out of the cell, disrupting the ionic equilibrium. Now, having those drugs, pag-aaralan niyo naman sa inyong pharmacology, we have to discuss the different mechanism of drug resistance. The one mechanism is by drug inactivation. And this is possible by certain enzymes that would tend to degrade that particular drug. Example, we have our penicillinase. Penicillinase is an enzyme produced by our bacterium targeting the beta-lactamurine of our antibiotics. So therefore, this might be effective only among those antimicrobial drugs with beta-lactamurine. So yun lang ang kanyang target. There are those drugs that decrease the permeability to a drug or increase elimination of a drug from the cell. Meron din ganyan. And a certain mechanism that, again, either prevents the entry of antimicrobial drug or it allows the entry but immediately pumps it out. Okay? It immediately pumps it out without exerting its effect on the bacterium. Okay? So yun lang kanyang mechanism. Third, it may change in metabolic patterns. Okay? For example, yung kanina natin, sabi natin, basically our sulfonamides. Okay? So this prevents the formation of your dihydrofolic acid from your papa. Okay? So therefore, preventing the formation of your purines and pyrimidines. So anong gagawin ng mga bacteria? Okay? It may change its metabolic pattern. Meaning to say, it will bypass that particular pathway of producing purines and pyrimidines from your papa. So ang gagawin, the organism will not utilize PABA. It will utilize the preformed folic acid from the cytoplasm of the host cell. So, binago niya ang kanyang metabolic pathway. Or, probably, a change in the receptor. No? Okay, so just review. Wala. Okay. Kanina, ano? Okay. Ito. If this is an active penicillin, again, okay, all those agents would have this beta-lactam ring. Okay? Penicillinase is an enzyme produced by the bacterium. It tends to cleave this portion of the beta-lactam ring, rendering this inactive. Okay? Kaya nga sa ating certain drug combination, yung kanina, kay comoxiclav, okay? So your clavulanic acid is directed against penicillinase. So therefore, penicillin will still be effective in destroying your cell wall. Decreased permeability, natin dyan, no? Okay? So ito, pwedeng, it alters the normal receptor found either on the cell wall or cell membrane of your bacterium, such that drug will be prevented from entering the cell. Okay? Or activation of drug pumps. It may allow the passage of your antimicrobial agent, but readily pumps it out without exerting its effect on your bacterium. Okay? Inalaw pumasok, pero sige, labas ko ulit. Okay? Parang ganda, ginawa. Or the use of alternate metabolic pathway, sabi na natin, instead of allowing this pathway, as in the case of sulfonamides, the organism will utilize the preformed folic acid or preformed, sabi natin, purines and pyrimidines for the formation of the nucleic acid. Sabi natin, ngayon, ano? Okay, so drugs that inhibit nucleic acid synthesis, so it has to bypass that pathway. No? Ganun. So resistance in simpler terms, so parang ganito lang, ano? It may cause inactivation of the drug by means of enzymes. It may alter its receptor, preventing the passage of your antibiotics. Formation of an effective pump that may allow entry of drug but eventually pump it out, even without exerting its effect. Utilizing an alternative pathway in the metabolism, such that it will not use the one that is being affected by certain drugs such as sulfonamides, or an altered target. So, ina-alter din niya yung possible target of the antibiotics. For example, it may alter its ribosome component, such that this may not be the target of your antibiotics. So, acquired antibiotic resistance could be classified as innate or intrinsic or non-intrinsic. When I say innate or intrinsic resistance, this means that the antibiotic targets simply are missing from a bacterium. For example, our Mycoplasma organisms, as we have discussed last time, is cell wall-less organism, meaning it's devoid of any cell wall. So therefore, it has an innate or intrinsic resistance against those agents that are against the formation of cell wall. Ano ang mga drugs na yun? Sa mga penicillin, vancomycin, cephalosporin, cycloserine, di ba? So all of these drugs they would be ineffective against mycoplasma because they do not have a cell wall. So again, that is an innate or intrinsic resistance of our bacterium. Alternatively, there exists a number of non-intrinsic mechanisms that can lead to antimicrobial resistance. So ito na yung discuss natin different mechanisms. Formation of an enzyme, utilizing an alternative pathway, etc. So acquired resistance can occur by alteration of the target by chromosomal mutation. Okay? So pwede na dyan. Or acquisition on plasmid encoding resistance genes. So pwede rin dyan sa plasmid. So take note that if a particular resistance is involving, for example, the change in the structure of the cell. For example, yung kanyang receptor. Usually, this results from chromosomal mutation. A change in the chromosome of the organism. But if that particular resistance usually is attributed to the formation of a certain enzymes, such as those found in the plasmids, or plasmids, so therefore, this is plasmid mediated. So again, for plasmid mediated resistance, mostly relating to the formation of enzymes against your particular antibiotic. Natin ha? Kung chromosomal, change in the structure of the cell. Kung plasmid encoded, usually formation of a specific substance or enzymes that will destroy the antibiotic. Side effects. Okay, sabi natin, up to now, we do not have a perfect antibiotics or antibacterial agent. Ang pinakaayaw natin would be there are certain drugs that have certain side effects. For example, toxicity to organs. So, when you give an antibiotic, you should consider these factors. Is there any toxicity that may happen to a particular organ when you give this antibiotic? Baka naman ang target ninyo, patay na microorganism, but eventually, this will destroy the kidney. This will destroy the liver of your patient. So parang baliwala lang. So baka alam niyo drug na mayroong certain toxicity sa organ. Yes. So, although antidepressant is not necessarily an antimicrobial drug. So this chemotherapeutic drug but not necessarily antibacterial or antimicrobial. So for example, your aminoglycoside, for example, mga glycoside, for example, this tends to be autotoxic or even nephrotoxic. When I say autotoxic, medyo nakakasira ng pandinig sa tenga. Nephrotoxic, medyo nakakasira ng kidneys. So you have to consider this when you prescribe any antimicrobial drug. Allergic responses. So this again a common side effect of the antimicrobial drug. Allergies. So may allergic reaction to drug. So nagpapantag. So basically you have vasodilation. What else? Hindi makahinga. So aside from vasodilation, this may also cause constriction, bronchoconstriction. Kaya nahihirapan huminga. Okay? So one of the drugs that would have that side effect would be those of your penicillin. Okay? That's why again, okay, may mga hospital, tatanong kung meron bang certain allergies for a drug. Okay? So mga penicillins ang common sa mga ganon. Or suppression and alteration of the microflora. Okay? The intestinal microflora. Kaya masabi natin, as much as possible, you have to use a drug, okay, with narrow spectrum of activity that is against only those target organisms. Okay? Because kung gagamit ka agad ng mga drugs, sabi natin, broad spectrum, and this may also kill your microflora in the gut. Eh so what, kung mamatay, ano pwede mangyari? Para saan ba yung ating mga microflora sa tiyan? Okay, digestion. Okay, bukod sa digestion. Bukod sa digestion. Ang ginagawa mo ngayon? Protein synthesis. Vitamin synthesis, particularly vitamin K, for example. Okay, so these are being synthesized by your intestinal microflora. Diba? It may, again, provide competition with the pathogenic microorganisms. Diba? Okay, so competition for binding site. Okay, at the same time, this may provide continuous stimulus for the lymphoid tissues present in the gut. Kaya paano naman maging active sila? Mga lymphoid tissues sa gastrointestinal tract tulad ng masabi natin, so this microflora may provide continuous stimulus for the lymphoid tissues found in the gut. We have here the MALT or the mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue tulad ng Peyer's patches. The Peyer's patches. Okay, di ba? Okay? So, meron tayo nun. The tonsils is a part also of the GFT, no? So, yan. Okay, we have the mucosa-associated lymphoid tissues. Considerations in selecting antimicrobial drugs, the nature of microbe causing infection. Sabi nga kanina, okay, you should know whether this organism is cell wall-less, with gram-positive cell wall, with gram-negative cell wall. Okay? So this could be the basis for our treatment. The degree of microsensitivity to various drugs. If this particular microorganism has a low resistance to this particular drug, then you should consider that. Okay? Or the overall medical condition of the patient. If the patient has a failing kidney, for example, will you give a drug that tends to be nephrotoxic? Okay? So if this particular patient has certain liver disorder, would you give a drug that is hepatotoxic? So again, you should consider that as well. Okay, so these are just some of the spectrum of activity of our different group of antimicrobial agents. Okay? For example, our penicillins, okay, some gram-negative, some chlamydia, okay, but most gram-positive organisms. Sulfonamides, okay, gram-negative and some gram-positive bacteria. Streptomycin, okay, against mycobacteria and some gram-negative bacteria. So that's why if your patient has tuberculosis, for example, you will be very limited to these particular drugs, usually the streptomycins. Although nowadays, drug combination. For example, we have some certain isoniazid, ibibigay, ethambutol, etc. Tetracyclines, so generally they have a very broad spectrum of activity, ranging from gram-negative up to the rickettsia. That's why these tetracyclines are the preferred drugs in the treatment of blood parasites. Okay, because mainly these blood parasites are the rickettsial organisms. For example, your Ehrlichia, for example, di ba? Ay so common. Treatment natin ulit tetracyclines. Isoniazid against mycobacteria, polymyxins against gram-negative bacteria, kaya although this can also be given against fungi, and vancomycin is specifically against gram-positive bacteria only. Okay? We have to consider their spectrum of activity. Okay? If we have a target, our target only is a specific microorganism, then as much as possible, you should use the drug with a known spectrum of activity against that microorganism only. The narrowest spectrum of antibiotics as much as possible. Okay? So our next topic is on mycology. Okay? So on mycology, and then after mycology, siguro we'll just discuss the mechanisms of pathogenicity, and including some epidemiology, and after that, tapos na ang ating course. Kunti na lang.